everybody. My name's Ellisa Cooper, and this is Cooking in Quarantine. So if you were here yesterday, you know that I did a marinade with 5 spice and put my pork loin into marinade. So I never got around to cooking it yesterday, but my friend Vicki is here today and working here from my home, and I thought, wow, what a better thing to do than use that pretty thing that's going to be so flavorful to make a really nice lunch for us today. So what I'm going to do is, I've already started here searing off this piece of beautiful pork that, like I said, has been in almost 24 hours to marinate. On the back burner, I pulled the marinade off and I am letting it boil for a while so that we're for sure to cook any of the animal products that have leached out into there. But it just seemed crazy to not at least see if we could taste it and maybe it has some further use. I'm cooking this piece of meat about 3 minutes on each side. I'll do it like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll stick in, let's get out my handy dandy thermometer because I will need that for sure. And then after that's all done, I'm going to take my little bowl of vegetables. I've got carrots, celery, and scallions here. And in the fond of the pan, I'm going to then cook those down with a little sesame oil, a little hoisin sauce, maybe a little bit of this marinade, just to kind of a quick stir fry. Of course, if I lived in a bigger kitchen, I would be cooking maybe all of this in a wok. But anyway, that's what we're doing today. I've still got a minute before I want to turn this out again. When you're cooking anything, any kind of meat on a stovetop or on a plancha or whatever you're doing, I don't think you should move it around very much. I'm sure that there's somebody out there who would say, oh goodness, Ellisa, here are a million reasons to do it. But I like it when you get the nice caramelization on the meat. And so I try to be patient. That's probably the place that has taught me patience the most, is not peeking under the roast, right? So anyway, I think that this sauce has probably boiled, I guess, long enough, right? How long does something have to boil for things to no longer be poisonous in them? Can somebody Google that for me? Jamie, Google that for me. So anyway, I have a beautiful, beautiful head of butter lettuce. So I've already cleaned it. We'll just take these little leaves and take our stir fry, take little paper thin slices of pork, wrap them all in together. There'll be hoisin sauce in the veg. That means it's time for me to turn the meat in. There we go. Oh yes, and I forgot. This also calls for water chestnuts. Silly me, sometimes I prep too soon and I don't even think about it. So here's a little trick, and that I do is that sometimes if you just hold it in place for a while, it'll eventually stick enough that it'll hold itself up. But we'll see. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good day. Evidently summer is going to attack us with a vengeance here in New York today, and it's only going to be worse tomorrow because there's hardly anything more unpleasant than weather-wise than being out in New York when it's humid and hot, because we all have to walk. I don't care what you do or who you are, unless you're some sort of princeling who goes around with car and driver everywhere. We all have to be outside and hoof it a few blocks all the time. And so being out in that kind of thing, and then ostensibly back in the day when we all had to work in person, you'd have to walk in completely drenched from head to toe, expected to be, I don't know, somehow effective at your job or impressive in a meeting. It was always a terrible thing. So that's something that I'm going to enjoy about this summer, is I'm thinking that there's not going to be a lot of in-person work just yet. So All right, see, there we go. Now it's standing up on the side that needed to brown. I held it just long enough. And then, so anyway, there's this. I'm trying to see, I don't want this to overcook, but I also don't want it undercooked, right? And you know, we don't have to cook pork to death. There's no more trichinosis out there, I understand. So I don't mean to be uncaring. So I'm going to look and see if my friend over here is dying or if it's just the allergies.
Denise's kid is on.
Hello, Denise. Hello, Kelly. How are you, darling? So, Kel, Vicki, and I are having lettuce wraps today. I am here cooking down the marinade a little bit, so it might be a whole lot of deliciousness that we might use here in a minute. And I've got 47 seconds on my third of 4 sides of my cute little pork loin. I guess there's a whole lot of standing around sometimes when you're cooking. Let's see. I have here a little bit of leftover rosé. From a wine tasting the other night. And the slut cup is still in full force. With fresh, delicious New York City water. All right, we are close. 13 seconds until the last turning of the loin. Although I'm probably going to just stand them up on the ends just for a second to make sure we get that. There we go. Let's restart. And let's just give those a few seconds to sear up there. Oh, this is really pretty. It's nice. I don't know if you can see from there, but there's some nice charred bits on it. Looks awesome. Just a little bit to sear up that end so that there's not any place for the deliciousness to escape. It won't take too awful long. And I bought this one because, you know, sometimes these little pork tenderloins can have one super thin end, you know, that tapers down, and then you end up with almost chalky. This one was really nice. It's pretty much, it's of course a little thicker in the middle, but it's still pretty good on the ends. So I'm excited about that. And here, I think that what I'll do with, start my timer again. 1, 2, oops. There we go. I'm going to stop this from boiling. Make sure I turn off the right burner. And, ooh, yeah. So this is what's happened to my marinating liquid, which I don't even know if I can remember what all I put in it. Oh, I have it right here.
Tracy's on.
Hello, Tracy. So I put in here soy sauce, white wine, ginger, I didn't have chili oil, but I used, this is the Vicky who gives me the good crunchy garlic and chili oil that I used instead, sesame oil and 5 spice. So that's what was in there. And so I think maybe what we need to do is just take a little spoon and see what's happened to this yumminess. So you can see that it's a bad humid day because my hair was beautiful at 7 o'clock this morning. But that's what happens. So I've just cooked all this a little bit. Oh, yum. Oh. That's fantastic. Oh, this is going to be great. We're very lucky. So let's get ready for the next part of this. So I've got my hoisin open. I'll need another little spoon because that's a tiny little mouth. And you know, I'm trying to be nice since other people are here. I'm trying not to just lick things. I've got here some stock that I made yesterday here. So I just need some little scoopy thing for when it's time for that. Boom. And I'm all ready, I think. As soon as I check the temperature of my pork. Right in the middle. Stop that. And we're climbing higher. Climbing up past 120. Are we gonna make it to 140? Okay, we are holding right at 130. So, here's what I'm going to do. This is my Ellisa trick to not overcooking your meat. Pardon me while my arm goes in search of a plate. I'm going to take this out at right above 130 and I'm going to cover it up and it's going to keep cooking because it's going to keep cooking. This is climate change, right? When you trap all of the heat inside, it continues to cook. So there you go. I figure in 10 years we'll all be sort of medium rare, right? All right, I am going to give this just because that's such a gorge. Absolutely. Kind of like a pancake. The first side is usually not as good as the last side. And just a little bit more. Oh, so pretty. So just so you can see how beautiful she is, right? Isn't that a gorgeous thing? It almost looks like a pretzel, frankly. We're just going to cover that up. And it will go right on to cooking. But it will not be dry. So here we go. So next thing I need to do is put a little bit more oil in here. And I'm going to put a tiny drop of sesame oil. Be careful with sesame oil because it is very, very flavorful. And when you put too much in, unlike too much chili oil, which you can always put a little sugar in to calm it down, I don't know what to do to fix too much sesame oil. So here we go. So I put in here, I got out my mandolin this morning and I did celery, carrots, and scallions on the 3 millimeter. So they're not so thin that they're going to melt. And they'll be able to cook for a while. As you see, I put them right into the pan that I cooked the meat in. And now that everything seems to be kind of covered in the oil, let me actually be a kind and thoughtful cooking lady and do these two things. I can move this sauce back over here because I'm not going to need that immediately. And now that makes it easier. Maybe you can see over that a little bit. So now I'm going to take this as, like I said, some stock that I made yesterday. And I'm just going to spoon really just a couple of tablespoons in here. You don't want this to overcook these guys, right? Because there's nothing better. I always think there's a place that I miss since everything's been closed up on 23rd Street, Excellent Dumpling House. Does this thing where it's really just sauteed celery. And you realize celery is wildly underused in this world when you realize how delicious that is. So, I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to put a nice teaspoon of hoisin sauce in here because that brings a sweetness to it. But then I'm also, because I've got all of this melted flavor over here from the marinade that I've cooked off. Here we go, that's where it is. I'm going to just pour a little bit of that in here as well. Again, ginger, 5-spice. Oh, doesn't that look great? And now let that cook. Oh gosh, oh yeah. That did magical things right away. Suddenly, I feel like maybe someday I could learn how to actually make Chinese food, like a good Chinese food, and not like, wouldn't it be great if we had a really great Chinese restaurant to go to? And last but not least, see, I keep wanting to forget them. I matchsticked some crunchy water chestnuts. And here we go.
Sale loves celery as an herb nowadays.
Oh, thank you. touche. Well done. An herb and not a veggie. I had never thought about that. See, we all learn something new every day. Isn't that wonderful? Now let me see what my salty brininess is going here. And if it needs anything more. I hope not, because I could only find a small container of tamari, and I don't buy small things if I can buy a larger one. So okay, that's fantastic. Stop cooking. Stop the presses. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll just make paper thin slices of the pork. And think about it like you're making a taco, right? And just take a nice leaf, put down a piece of everything. These are going to have to be hand washed. I realize leaf by leaf I can still feel a little gritty sand. So there you go. That's the story. So I've told you guys that things are going to start to change a little bit since New York has come off of pause and started started reopening. So one of the things that we'll do is I will make every effort every day that I cook for you to give you a picture of the finished product on Instagram. So my Instagram account is Decanted Diva, spelled just exactly like it sounds. And if you know anything about wine, it makes perfect sense. So Decanted Diva on Instagram. I'll start putting up pictures of what our beautiful lunch looks like. So thank you guys again for being here. Be careful, because again, if you're up here in the Northeast, it's hot, and I understand that there's a hurricane going up the Mississippi River Valley. So everybody be careful out there. If you got to go outside to exercise, be sure and drink a lot of water. Ciao, guys. Have a great day.